Hello, everyone. Let me turn my camera on as well. Hopefully it is on. Hi, hello. Hopefully you can see me. Hello, everyone. We'll give you just a few moments to get in and get settled. In the meantime, if you want, feel free to interact with our chat, drop a hello, let us know where you're signing in from. Just out of curiosity, we always like to see. I see some people already. Angelica from, I missed your location, Angelica. Megan from Illinois. I see UK, North Carolina, Canada, Pakistan. Hello to Pakistan. Texas. I saw, I think France. Okay, it's moving a little fast for me right now. So quite a few people. Hello, everyone. I see someone raising their hand. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to address those in our dedicated Q&A section. You should find that somewhere on your screen. And just interact in the chat. If you have any questions, again, it's better to direct them to the Q&A just so that they don't get buried and lost in the chat. So yeah. All right, so I think we are good to start. So again, welcome everyone. So today we are going to discuss about how we built our very own academy. Well, actually, we kind of like revamped it, and we definitely did it smarter and faster because we used AI to do that. So today we're going to take you backstage, and you're going to see exactly how we did it, our process, and our framework. So let me move on to our next slide over here so I can also show you our speakers in a little bit and then what we're going to see. But before we do that, just a few words about LearnWorlds, especially if you guys are seeing us for the very first time. So this webinar is brought to you by LearnWorlds, and LearnWorlds is an e-learning platform, an LMS for anyone, any educators, trainers, or any organizations that want to create or sell courses, engaging interactive courses. We serve a lot of customers, essentially all over the world, and we actually teach somewhat of 20 million end learners. And here you can see just some names and some people that have their own courses in LearnWorlds. And we have gotten some badges and some awards throughout the years as well. So this is what you see over here. So the speakers for today. Myself, hello, I am Elisa Tani. I am a learning designer over here at LearnWorlds. And alongside with me, I also have Ksenia Spanaki, a team lead and learning designer at LearnWorlds as well. So hi,
Hey
Ksenia,
everyone.
happy to have you here.
Glad to
And
have
of
you, everyone.
course, behind the scenes, we also have Christina. She's also a member of the team that helped put this together. So she's going to be, you're going to see her in the chat or the Q&A answering your questions. So yeah, there's more people in there helping out. So I think we are good to start. And let's go ahead with part one. So today the presentation is kind of divided in 9 parts, just taking you through the process. So part one was setting up the stage. So what does that mean? So the first thing that some of you may have in mind is, okay, why even bother building an academy? Should I do that? Well, for us, the answer was quite clear. Well, we sell academies because that's what LearnWorlds does, right? So we must live by our product. So why not create our very own academy, educating our customers how to use our tool, right? Now, not only that, but having an academy, having on-demand learning, then also results in a more scalable support because, well, you have fewer tickets and happier customers. And of course, you can use this as a strategic lever as well because by having an academy, by educating them, product adoption is a lot faster. You have more opportunities to upsell, and also retention is higher. You get to keep your customers a lot easier. So over here on our case, our very own product became our demo because the academy, we built it with LearnWorlds. So it was kind of a 2-in-1 for us. So let's see what
Yeah.
was broken.
So what was broken in our old academy, if we can say something was broken? So most of the videos were outdated because, of course, a lot of changes happen, especially in the UI or many features that get released. And the content was uneditable. Why? Because only one person could produce videos in the past. So we had one person, Elisa in our case, that had created everything from the screen sharing to the video narration. So we had no scaling, no maintenance. So everything, every update that happened in the platform, every new release or every UI change meant that one person had to redo everything from scratch.
Yeah, so that was definitely an issue with
Mm.
us. And I feel like that is also a major pain point with anyone having documentation and academies, keeping everything up to date, especially when your product is software, which changes so
Mm.
fast, I think. All right, so let's see what was kind of like our team setup here, right? So who was doing what? So our team, the customer training team, the learning and development team, is essentially three people, myself, Xenia, and Christina. So we are three learning designers, and we were the ones who did the scripts. The courses in our academy were primarily made of videos. So we did the scripts, the screen captures, and the AI prompts. Then we also collaborated and brought in an AI specialist that helped us with custom GPTs and helping us with our prompt engineering. And then towards the end, we also collaborated with our support team to help us in terms of reviewing the final course and getting accuracy and feedback to see if there was anything to be changed. So this is the team that we worked with. These were the people that worked for this, just keeping that in mind. So what was the mindset over here, right? We went from only Eliza or only one person essentially knows how to do that because I used to do all the videos and all the courses, and that shifted to, well, now anyone can create, regardless if they've done videos before. So with a specific system in mind and with AI, now everyone can create modular, editable, and maintainable material and courses. So as you can imagine, this is quite a big shift. So why was this important? Well, I think Saya mentioned that earlier. So we moved the biggest hurdle, the biggest bottleneck, which was that one person was doing it, and then we enabled a more collaborative production. Other people could come in, even if they weren't specialists or even from other teams. And that resulted in having making updates a lot more manageable because now that Elisa's voice wasn't everywhere and you could use an AI voice that essentially anyone could do, it is a lot easier to manage the updates. And the Academy was now a lot more ready for any new revamps or any future feature releases and things like that. So over here for us, the enemy wasn't poor design, but it is, as I think with everyone, that it was not maintainable the way it was before. It wasn't scalable and it wasn't maintainable. So that was part one, kind of like the team and everything. So on part two, we will see designing the syllabus. So essentially coming up with the courses list. So what courses are we going to add into the academy, right? So for us, we didn't go in blindly. We didn't just have to guess. We kind of like reverse engineered it. So we thought that, okay, if I was a new customer, if I was a person just starting, what would I expect in my onboarding? What would I expect to see, right? So we thought that we want to make the list of the courses more goal-based, goal-oriented, not feature-oriented, because we wanted real outcomes and not just, clickbaits, not just buttons that someone would click. So yeah, the syllabus, the courses list came first. We worked on that, and then we worried about the content. Okay, so now even regarding the syllabus, okay, where do you get the inspiration in terms of what courses to add? So we had a couple sources over here. And the first one was, well, competitor academies. And I feel like, we all do competitor analysis and it is good to see what's out there in competition. What are they doing in terms of their academies and educating their customers, right? So of course we did that too. We reviewed our customers and we made a simple deep search. We saw what kind of courses they have, how they structure them. And we kind of like compared them in terms of tones, catalogs, and things like that. So that was our first source. The second one, and the biggest, I would say, was our very own knowledge base. So we had an extensive knowledge base with hundreds of articles that we created on different aspects of the platform, our product and features. So we definitely use that in our articles as inspiration for the syllabus. Um, So yeah, it became a blueprint, not the afterthought. We already had the knowledge base, so we used it to help us create the syllabus. And the third and important source for us was the tickets, so the support tickets. So essentially, all of the feedback that we had gotten throughout time from our customers, so frequently asked questions, any worries, any areas where, it wasn't easy for them. So we took all of that information and we included that into our thinking in terms of coming up with the syllabus. So essentially, we turned our support signals into the curriculum priorities in terms of courses. Let me move on to the next one. All right, so next up, we had to synthesize all of this with AI. So what we did is that we created a ChatGPT with the help of our AI assistant, and we prompted it with data, with all of the data from these sources. And we asked for three different proposals, so three different syllabus. One would be feature-based, the other one would be goal-based, and the other one would be customer-based. We landed and decided that goal-based is the best option for our audience, for our clients. Think of courses like this. So for us, create your first course, for instance, or launch your school, or track your learner progress, right? So these were types of courses that we came up with a goal-based approach.
So what you see here in the left image, you see how our academy looks, our courses that we currently have. We have some categories. You can see that all of the courses are goal-based, so how create a course in 10 minutes, manage your users, or track your student progress. And if we click inside of a course and we go to the course landing page, for example, for create a course in 10 minutes, which you can see the right image, you will see that even the text and everything we have in the course landing page shows the goal of this course, which is what you will get out of it, what you will get out of the end of this self-paced course. So this is a sneak peek of how our academy looks. Of course, we are always revamping things and we're trying to add new activities and new courses. So yeah, this is an ongoing process.
Yeah, of course. All right, let's move on to the next part. So part three, where do we start? Okay, maybe we had our syllabus, so we have to start somewhere, right? So here we have a video for you, just so that you also have a visual of kind of what type of result we were trying to imitate with AI, right? I'm not sure if I'm sharing sound here. Hopefully I am. I don't remember. But I'll show you real quick. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna pause it. I don't think we have to watch the whole thing, but essentially, what we wanted as our end result was video-based content such as this, where you had a narrator that sound human, and the pace was nice, the flow was nice, and all of that would be synced with a screencasting, where we were showing, things and how to do around our platform, which is our product over here. So this was kind of what we were looking for as an end result, right? So just keep that in mind. We were working towards creating something like that. So where would we start? Well, the truth is that, again, you already have raw material. So the same was for us, right? And for us, we weren't creating the platform, the academy from scratch. We were revamping it. So we did have some. But even if you don't, well, you could imitate the sources that we did. Like you could look into your competitor academies. You could look into your own knowledge base center if you have any articles, or if you have any blogs, posts, PDFs, FAQs. So all of that information could serve you. And of course, support tickets. So any concerns that they have communicated with you, all of this information can actually serve as your first raw material to move further. For us, it was a combination for all of those. But yeah, this is definitely something that you can use so that you don't start from zero, from nothing essentially. So we heavily relied on our knowledge base and our articles. So why did we do that? Well, the articles were already accurate. They were carefully curated in terms of, explaining things around our product. They were based on real questions. So typically you will create an article if someone keeps bugging you and asking the same question or things again and again. So you'd be like, okay, I'll do an article for that. So, it actually served real questions. It was structured. Usually they're kind of like a step-by-step guide. And of course, it's faster starting from somewhere than starting from scratch, right? So they were a great point for us to start. But they weren't necessarily, plug and play in terms of video scripts, right? You would still need to check some things. So I'm going to move to the next one where I'll dive a little bit more into that. So yes, articles were great, but they are not necessarily video scripts, right? That means that sometimes the tone is wrong. What do I mean by that? It's one thing having to read a text, and it's another one having to speak it out loud. It may come out as robotic and not as natural, if that makes sense. Then sometimes the format was wrong. So usually with the articles, you just scroll first and then you see the visuals. Or sometimes the flow was wrong. So those were built for searches and not necessarily for learning. And the pacing isn't actually necessarily right. So sometimes you may have like large blocks of text, which work on an article, but not necessarily on a video, right? So all of that were things that we had to change. So a good video script would have to be learner centric. You would need to have enough pauses or emphasis or build up anticipation, and you must have visual storytelling cues. We will mention these a lot more going further. So, in this process for us, we also had an unexpected win. So while transforming the articles into videos, we also fixed a broken logic. So if something didn't make sense, or any language things that we caught that weren't correctly right, any gaps in the knowledge of the article. So with that, we essentially improved the whole knowledge base. So it was kind of like a
Yeah.
win-win situation.
Yeah,
Initially, we
Elisa.
did use it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention here that what we understood from this process, and Christina and you can also confirm, is that there were a lot of articles that we thought that worked. However, when
Yes.
we created the scripts and created the videos, we saw that the flow and the logic was not how it's supposed to be. So we improved a lot of the support articles in the process. So that was indeed a win as well.
Exactly, because we were taking the article, we were feeding it into AI to make it into a script, and then we were realizing, perhaps we could improve this a little bit more. So that resulted in us essentially improving the whole knowledge base. So that was a great win at this point. All right, so the next step over here, part four, we went from article to script. So how did we do that? The first thing was to analyze the article itself, right? So the goal is to understand what is this article about and how does it transfer that information? What kind of article is it? Who is it for? Is it for someone that is at the top of the funnel? Is it for someone who is a little bit more of an advanced user? What is the starting point? What is the end result over here? And so with that in mind, we extracted key actions and flows that we had to make sure we incorporate, UI elements to make sure that we definitely show, so important things, for instance, and warnings, notices, or maybe some edge cases that could be important to highlight in a video as well, right? So that was the first step over here in analyzing the article. The second one was, of course, prompting and creating a draft script. So as I mentioned earlier, we did have an AI specialist come in and helped us, Panagiotta Christodoulou in our case. So she helped with coming up with a chat GPT, with a custom GPT where we explain this is our team, this is what we're trying to do, just so that we didn't have to say that again and again inside our prompt, right? And then we designed our prompts something like this. So act as an instructional designer, convert this article into a friendly 2-minute narration script for for a new LearnWorlds user, right? So obviously, in your own project, you would have to change this according to what your goal is or what you're trying to do, but this is what kind of worked for us. So what we did is made sure we added a clear tone. We added pauses wherever necessary because, the viewer does need some time to, comprehend what you're showing. We made sure we emphasize things that were visible, or for instance, whenever we're clicking a button and things like that. And we're breaking long, complex ideas into shorter lines and sentences. So with that in mind, the output was almost there. It wasn't perfect, but it was 80% there. But still, some human edits were essential. So on step three, this is
Yeah.
where the human factor jumps in.
Indeed. So,
Um,
as Elisa mentioned, 80% was there. However, we had to have a human pass in the video script. So, we had to go ahead and read it aloud and fix things that AI missed. For example, we had to cut some fillers. We had to fix some missing steps because, as I mentioned, we read it out loud. We practice what we heard in the video, in the narration with the platform to see if it matches and if the flow is good. So we had to fix some missing steps or reorganize to have some clarity. And of course, we also had to humanize the robotic phrasing. We had to make it our own to be more natural. So yes, what we did was to read it out loud, to keep in mind that we had to have one idea per sentence, not overwhelm with multiple information, and we had to end with a clear closure on our end.
yeah. So yes, of course, AI is helpful, but the human touch is still very much needed sometimes. Okay, so on the next part, part five, we were building the audio. So what have we done so far? We did our research. We came up with our syllabus or the course list. We came up with our scripts and how we were going to do the scripts for the content. And now we are building the narration, so the audio for our videos. So how did we do that? First, why audio matters, why it is important. So even if you have great visuals, you still need a good narration to help describe what is happening, right? You need a nice, clear voice that is going to be engaging and as human as possible, if that is possible with the AI tool. And it needs to have good timing for better comprehension. So our goal here was that the AI voice could sound as human and clear as possible. And it is definitely a process of trial and error, right? So what was our audio workflow here? Well, we finalized the script for the audio. We fed it into the tool. We made sure to add pauses so that those could translate into the narration as well, and chunk the steps. Then we generated the audio. We played it back again to make sure, that there's no mistakes and that it can sync with our screencast later on. And then we also added into to our editing tool, we're going to talk about that later, to make sure we delete any things that were unnecessary to trim it and things like that. So this is what we did on this part. So, what do you need to keep in mind if you are writing for AI voice, right? Whether you're using an article like we did for most of the times, or if you're doing it from scratch, right? You need to make sure that you keep it short and you have natural sentences because sometimes they will sound overly robotic with the AI voice if they're not more natural in terms of language. Make sure you focus in one action per sentence so that also translates in a more clear video, and you have clear transitions in terms of either screens or different things that you're showing. They need to be smooth and clean. So an example here would be go to the dashboard and then the audio would pause so that the viewer would have time to also understand what you said, but you also have time to show it visually, or click create a course. Pause, right? So small little sentences that were nice and clear instructions essentially for your viewer. So what tools do we use for the audio narration? Well, we landed on 11 labs. We did try a few. Now, obviously, this was back then when we started doing that. Since then, AI is and keeps developing every day. So obviously, do your own research and see which one works for you the best. For us at that time, this made sense. We liked the voice that we found and how the environment works. So we ended up using 11 labs. The quality was there, the generation was fast, and it was easy to re-render if we had to. So we kept again the clips short. We regenerated only when needed because obviously most of these tools work in a credit base. So the more you generate, the more credits you use up, right? And we organized the audios also by step. So then, of course, we would have to have in mind that this narration would have to also sync with the video, right? So later on, we will talk about the screencasting. So what we did is that we wanted to keep in mind that, the narration need to match what I'm showing the screen, like the cursor, or that I want to hover before I speak. So in videos, it is better to have the visual cue first, like your mouse cursor, go to the button and then say, for instance, click here. And then, of course, we did all of that in Camtasia, where we trimmed everything we need, we synced and cut out sentences, and we added transitions. But we'll see that in more detail as we go.
Yeah, I just
So,
wanted to mention here that
yeah,
we tried a lot of methods to try and sync the
yes,
narration with the screen sharing. And we found that if we had it in our phones, for example, in another device where we could listen to it and pause and do testing, it was easier for us. So you need to
yes.
try and check what works for you. For us, I think that keeping it separately and just having it, play again and again and pause and continue was worked for us.
Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. We will revisit that again when we'll tell you everything that we did in here. But yeah, that was something that definitely worked for us. Okay, so now on to the next part, right? The screencasting and the visuals. So far,
Mm.
what do we have again? We have the syllabus, we have the scripts, we have the audio, and now for the one of the most important parts, which is the visual part of the video, right? So the screencasting. So here again, the screencasting had to match the narration. So whatever the speaker was saying, the AI voice, you need to match it with the visuals. It needs to be clean, focused, and calm so that the user can actually follow along. We need to make sure every click counts. So don't move your mouse fast, like click slowly so that the user can catch up. And of course, it should be straightforward and easy for them to recreate. Because again, our goal here is for this to be used into our academy, right? So the goal is to help educate them.
Yeah, and true. And I think a calm setup and keeping everything, make slow movements with the cursor and having everything clean and focused also helps in reusing the same screencasting for other videos as well, because it minimizes the need for, edits in the video editing tool.
Yes, and if there is a need for edits, having everything in a slower pace, if that makes sense, allows also the space to come in, edit it, cut, and do things like that. So that helps with updating and maintaining as well long term. Okay, so what was the setup for the visuals here for the screencasting? So we used Camtasia for that. We used the audio that we generated from 11 Labs. And as Xenia mentioned, we had that playing in our earbuds or our phones or just another device while we were doing the screencasts. Then we were doing test runs. So what do we mean? Whatever the narrator was explaining or detailing what to do, we had our UI ready and we did, test runs to see that everything is ready before we did the screencasting. Of course, we had to create maybe some dummy accounts regarding what we were showing, right? So if you want to show, for instance, a list of courses, we had to create those before, right? Things like languages and all of that. Here is the resolution we use, but of course that is depending your needs. So again, what was the actual recording process? The first thing, preparing the UI, everything that you need that you're going to show is ready beforehand, because if it's not, you will do it at the same time and that will result in you needing more editing, right? So we were trying to eliminate the editing time. We determined, what the zoom of the pages was going to be. Make sure you turn your notifications off. I can recount numerous times where I forgot my Slack notifications on, and I was like, well, there goes my screencasting now, it's ruined. So definitely keep those off. One clip, one clear user step, recording in silence, and kind of like 10 to 30-second chunks. And we were naming the clips afterwards, so for easier storing and management. So that was the recording process for us. Some best practices that we figured out, and I think we mentioned that earlier as well. Make sure you hover if you're doing screencasts before you click. It is easier for the viewer to follow up. Slow, deliberate movements with your mouse, with the screens. Pause if you have any key UI moments that you need to shed more light on. No multitasking, keep it simple, one step per clip, right? So less is more on this step. So, what was a mistake that we fixed? And I think we kind of like mentioned that as well, but before our mouse moved after the voice instructions, right? So that ended up on the learner getting confused because the visuals were lagging before and the flow wasn't there. So again, the fix here would be for us to move the cursor first and then speak the words. So the visuals should come first and then the narration should follow. So hover early and lead with the motion, right? So again, the mouse is your visual cue. It is not a reaction, so it should come first. So keep that in mind, especially if you're going to be doing screencasts like we did. Okay, so from real time to modular recording. So we used to record everything live with the audio, and by I used to do that. So of course that meant that one mistake I would have to start over. And of course it meant that, it was maintainable, right? The other people couldn't do the videos because it was my sound on the whole course, right? My voice. But the new flow is that we have chunked audios, easier to manage, chunked screen actions, and we can edit in scenes now, right? So that resulted in easier edits. We could reuse the content that we made, so not only for the courses in the academy, and it could be from different team members. It wouldn't have to be someone who is someone specialized in this. Okay, so what was the editing environment? Again, so we used Camtasia, we fed in the voiceover, we had the screen clips that we created, and then we chose to also polish it with a music track just to make the flow go easier. And then, of course, we organized our structure for the files.
Yeah, and
So,
just to add something, you could also
yeah.
play around and perhaps if you have intros or outros, create some templates that you can use to have consistency and have something different of the actual content videos.
Yes.
Mm.
Well, I guess I forgot to mention that. Indeed, we are lucky enough to also have a design team, and they helped us in creating some intros that we were using in most of the videos. If not, you could skip that. You could create that yourself. But yeah, we had that, so it definitely helped make it more cohesive. All right, so what was the assembly process? So we imported all of this into Camtasia, right? The intros, the screencasts, the audio files, the music. We added those into the tracks. Usually we had the voice at the top, we have the screencast in the middle, and then the music at the bottom. Now, keep in mind that the music, if you add any, it should be slow. The sound, the volume should be low. I have come up numerous videos where I can barely understand what the narrator is saying because the music is too loud. So definitely make sure your music is soft in terms of tone, but also in terms of volume. Then, of course, we needed to trim, tighten the video and all of that. We need to make sure that the audio and the video is in sync. So we had to merge to match all of that, the cursor to the narration. Sometimes we had to extend some frames, so that comes down to editing or to make something in slow motion. If something was shown too fast, you will figure these things out, but they are common things that you will need to do. We added intros and outro templates as well. Again, we were lucky enough to have help from our design team for this, but yeah, it definitely helps. And then just a few more things that we did in editing in terms of polishing and transition. So we made sure to add, kind of like fade ins and fade outs whenever we were changing screens so that, the flow is a lot better, usually at the end and start of each screencast clip. Very important to also make sure you blur any sensitive data information, right? So sometimes we had user information or emails, things like that, names. Make sure you always blur those if you're doing screencasts. We added zoom ins or focus areas if we wanted to highlight something, and used minimal callouts as well. So yeah, the goal for here was let the visuals support and not distract, right? They would have to come in and add to your value and not just distract the viewer. All right, so part 5 here, was it, sorry, part 7 here, was it faster? And I'm sure this is in all of your minds as well. So let's get back here. So what was the goal? What is the goal here? Let's compare the traditional with the AI-assisted video creation. So in order for us to do that, because we wanted to find out if, well, ultimately, is it worth it, right? Is it faster? So we generated 2 videos with both methods. The first one was create your first course, and the other one was customize the layout page. So with the traditional way, we found out that obviously it was faster with the experience creator for me because a lot of times I didn't even need to create a screen because I already knew the platform and I had not the screen, sorry, the script, because I already knew the product. And so I would eliminate that completely when I was doing it myself. Or I didn't have to generate the audio, obviously. So I was doing everything in one take, just live. I was doing the narration and the screencasting. So obviously for an experienced user, yes, the traditional way may be faster, but ultimately it's not scalable, right? With the AI assisted way, you'll see that we had an average of 75 minutes per one of those videos in comparison to 30 to 40 for an experienced user. We included the AI prompt crafting, reviewing, synchronizing the narration, the voice to video mismatch also definitely adds time to editing, right? So these were our findings where we compared the two. So was it faster? The answer is yes for the experienced user, but no long term, right? Because obviously with the AI way, it is faster in terms of more people can tune in to help, even if they're not experienced in a video creation and things like that. So if you ask me, absolutely, it was faster and definitely worth it as well for maintaining as well. So some of the key learnings that we had over here is that the AI scripts still need supervision. Obviously, the more you work on the prompt, the better the script is going to be, but it still needs human supervision. So a lot of times it was misaligning with the steps of the UI. So, the narration would say, for instance, do this and then do that, but the visual. So in the platform, maybe those were reversed or something like that. So it wasn't always right. It required deletion, rewriting, and reordering. So yeah, like I said, they would perform if also the prompt is better. The better the prompt, the better the scripts. And of course, the collaboration superpower AI, as I mentioned, opens the door to non-creators. And I feel like this is the biggest key learning over here. So colleagues can contribute from other teams even, but even from your very own team, colleagues that didn't necessarily know how to do that before now can come in and contribute and help with scripts. They can help with rough cuts or even the whole creation from the start to the beginning, but it still needs an editor as a quality gatekeeper, right? And of course, to put everything together at the end, all of the assets. So what did we end up with after this experiment? We had 3 people, myself, Xenia, and Christina, and they were all able to create more than 20 maintainable videos per day. Now, if we were to still do this the traditional way, which means one person does it all, obviously, this wouldn't be there, right? So 3 people, 20 maintainable videos per day. And if you're creating videos, you do know this takes a lot of time to shoot, to do all of that, right? We could create a small course in one day, which is a great achievement. And we could create our first 5 courses in less than 10 days. So I think that is an astonishing result here. Creating 5 courses in 10 days. Often one course would take several days. But yeah, this is what we ended up with. And I think we were very happy with the results. So just to sum up the framework over here for you guys. So what did we do? First, we identified what we needed to do and we defined it. We structured the syllabus and the scripts. We generated our audio, so our audio narration based off of our articles. This is how we did it. Perhaps you'll have another approach. Then we recorded our screencasting. Step 5, we put everything together. We edited, we synchronized, we polished, we trimmed, all of that. And then 6, we collaborated and reviewed. So as soon as we were done, we would share the results either with a supervisor or with our support team to see what they think, if they had any feedback, if they had any proposals for changes. And then, of course, we were ready to launch and iterate. Yeah, and now we are at the stage where we still need to redo things, of course, because the product itself keeps evolving and you still need to keep and add courses and materials. So yeah, that was roughly our framework. And let's move over to the next part. So part 9 here. We thought that maybe it would be beneficial for you guys to hear more from Xenia. Xenia represents any colleague, anyone that, well, wasn't necessarily an expert in video creation, right? So we thought that it is good to see her thoughts in terms of how she experienced this process. So let's see how Xenia, how was the
Yeah.
experience for her. So Xenia, um, what has, first of all, tell us a little bit about what your role is in LearnWorlds, just in case anyone missed it here,
Yeah,
so
so
they know.
I am a learning designer. So we, as a team, we create learning material, learning content for our users. However, I've never created a video from scratch. I had no experience for a video professional setting. So this project was very new to me. And yeah, it was something that I did not know. I had no experience whatsoever in.
That makes sense. And I feel like a lot of people that are in the chat now, I can definitely identify with that, that they may be asked to do something like that. So when your boss, when your supervisor came and said, hey, you will be now involved in video creation, and not only that, but doing that with AI tools. So when you first heard that, what did you think? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so honestly, I was really anxious. It felt overwhelming at the beginning because we didn't know where to start. We had the idea in our minds, however, we didn't know how this would progress, and especially with using tools that we've never used before. So we had to research what we would use for the audio, or we had to learn how to edit a video. In our case, in Camtasia. So it was overwhelming at the beginning and really anxious. However, it turned out to be really fun at the end.
I think I agree with that. Okay, so during the process, right, during coming up with the syllabus, doing the competitor analysis, so all of that, the scripting, all of that, was there a part that was specifically hard or more intimidating for you?
Yes, as I mentioned, I've never edited a video, so editing in Camtasia was an intimidating part for sure. However, what I've learned with this process is uh, practice makes perfect. So we did a lot of trials, a lot of practicing. We had a lot of failed attempts as well. However, if you stick to it and you work and you do a lot of testing, you'll see that in the end, what you need is there and it's not that overwhelming. So, yes, at the beginning, the intimidating part was uh, learning to use a new tool. However, this is something that was really good to know at the end of this
Yeah,
project. Yeah.
and I think that makes absolute sense to me. I feel like editing is intimidating for everyone. It can take hours. If you don't make the right prep, editing can definitely take up a lot of time. Okay, so throughout that journey then, when was the part, I guess, the time when you thought, when it all clicked and you thought, okay, maybe I can actually do this, right? Even if I haven't done this before, now I am confident in myself that I can do this. Was there, a moment where you thought that, okay, I've crossed to the other side now?
Yeah. I think that the first time that a successful video was created, because as I mentioned, we had a lot of failed attempts at the beginning.
Yeah.
The first time that a video was created that had a good flow, that the narration and the screencasting were in sync, where everything worked as it should, and we had a really good result. I think that was the part that um, I understood that, yes, I could do this. It's something that it just needs practice, and it's something that everyone could do.
Exactly, because essentially the parts where the human touch was actually needed, it was something that was natural to you as well. Like whenever it was either to edit the script or, the main thing you had to learn was definitely the editing and things like that. But yeah, I understand that. Okay, so now, having gone through the process and having created a lot of courses and videos since then, do you have any advice or thoughts towards anyone who is just, trying to experiment with AI or trying to do this the AI way instead?
Yeah, I think what I've mentioned is practice, practice. So do not give up. There will be a lot of failed attempts and a lot of mistakes that will happen in the process. However, if you stick to it and do a lot of testing, it will eventually turn out very good. And also another thing is that I think you should test a lot of tools to find what really clicks for you. So for us, we tested a lot of tools for audio and for video as well.
And we still
However,
do.
yes, and we still do as well. However, what worked for us as a team were the ones that we eventually chose. There were some things that were easier for others. However, as a team, we identified that we are better and we will save a lot of times and we will have a good result by choosing these tools that we chose at the end.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. All right, so thank you for that insight, Xenia. And if you'll allow me to just do a little recap over here on what we've seen. So what we did was essentially we had an academy which was updated. All the videos were done mainly by one person, right? So as you can imagine, that was difficult to update. If Elisa, the main creator, was out for some reason, someone else couldn't just jump in and help because, my voice, my face was everywhere. That took time also. And so we wanted to find a way to try to just eliminate all of that, right? So not only that, but we also wanted to be able to have other people try and jump in and chime in. So this is the framework that we came up with, generating the syllabus with AI, generating the scripts for videos, generating the narration, creating the screencast, and then putting everything together. Now, obviously, if you were just trying this out, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be a lot of trial and error. You need to do your research on tools, on best practices, and you will see that the more you do, the more videos you do, the faster you will get. And something that also was very important to us is that the more videos we did, the more we also understood the correlation between shooting, recording, and editing. So, for instance, we knew that, okay, if I made a mistake and I misclicked another button, I now know, well, I knew, but someone who isn't an expert, I now know that I can actually crop this out in editing. So it's fine. I don't need to abandon the whole recording session, right? I could just go ahead and click the right one and move on because now I know that in editing, I could just eliminate that, right? So that also helped us in shooting the videos a lot faster and having an overall faster result. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. And let me see if there is any questions. I know that Christina has definitely done a lot of work in the Q&A and the chat. So let me see how the chat is going on over here. So guys, also, yeah, I see some questions for recordings. We always do share the recordings of the sessions. So keep that in mind. We are going to do that. We're going to share the recording and the slides. Let me see in the Q&A if there is anything worth mentioning, just to see if there's any questions that were, you know, asked a few times or see what questions. Okay. I see a few questions for the presentation. Yes, we are going to share those definitely. Okay, some people are asking about SCORMs. Yes, LearnWorlds definitely does support SCORM. For the tools again, don't take into account whatever tool we definitely use because obviously, AI evolves a lot. So definitely do your research. See, for instance, for audio, which tool works a lot better for you, which, voices. Usually they give out a big list of, different voice types that you can choose. Make sure that also the plans that they offer, do match your needs. Most of them charge in a credit base and things like that. So regarding tools, yeah, definitely do your own research, see exactly what worked for you. Um, okay, so someone asked, did you also use AI to analyze the articles, target group, and so on? Yes, we also did that as well. And a lot of our custom GPT also helped a lot with that because we were able to identify the target audience and who this was for and things like that. So yeah, absolutely, AI can help in almost all the stages. Besides, well, the editing, we still did it ourselves, like when we put everything together. Okay, someone is saying, how would you get permission to use music that is created by others? Okay, of course, there are places out there. I don't remember. I think our design team just gave it to us, but there are a lot of royalty-free audio tracks and things that you can find out there. I cannot remember a page now at the top of my head, but if you search it, royalty-free audio tracks, background tracks, you will be able to find a lot that are absolutely free that you do not need to pay for. Otherwise, of course, there are platforms that do sell paid music tracks as well. But definitely, go check out the free ones. And I think we did use a free one. But I may be wrong because, again, we asked that from the design team. Okay. Let me see. Just going through our questions over here, seeing if there's anything worth mentioning. But I see that Christina has also already gotten most of these. I guess maybe I could show you very shortly a little bit, our academy, since we have a few more minutes and how that looks like, right? Let me show you that in here. So let me close off my, give me a second to show you here. All right. Just making sure I have the right screen on. All right, so again, for any of you who haven't heard about us before, this is the LearnWorlds page, learnworlds.com. From here, you can start a trial. It is absolutely free, no card information needed, and it's going to last you for 30 days if you want to do your own research. Now, here is the Academy. You saw a screenshot earlier. Obviously, this is how we decided to do it. We had a little help from design in terms of, the aesthetics. But I promise the rest is all us, like, the courses list and all of that. So here's how we divided them, getting started, real impact, right? And of course, these courses are all free. So if you decide to also become a LearnWorlds user, you can join into any of these courses that we created in the Academy for free. Or even if you want to, test out how we did. Is our framework working? You could just go in here and check it out, see how that looks like. And I just wanted to show you real quick also our knowledge base center. So this is what we heavily used for our article, for our scripts, for the videos, right? Because the knowledge base is essentially a direct result of all of those support tickets that we had throughout the years, right? The frequently asked questions, or anytime that we had a new major release, we were, creating a dedicated article for it. So that was extremely helpful, as a place for us to start. And like we mentioned, it was a win situation because we also ended up revamping the knowledge base throughout that process. So yeah, that definitely helped us a lot as well.
Elisa, should we
Yeah.
also mention that we have a really special offer for our new customers? So Filipa has shared the code in the chat. It's for new customers for our Pro and Learning Center plans, and you can get 15% off for 6 months. I'm sharing the code as well again in the chat if everyone is interested.
Okay, and let me also share this as well. If you want to go in here, you can see that too. Okay, but I guess the easiest way for you guys to do it is just click over here, start a free trial and see it on the inside, see, if you like it and if that is for you. You do not have to, decide right away. Just see if it works for you and check it out from the inside for sure. All right, I just wanted to see if there's any other questions that remain unanswered. I see that Christina has done uh, a good job over here, so thank you, Christina. Okay, so someone is asking, are you able to give an example of a prompt you gave to AI to create the course? I don't think I have one at the top of my head right now. And perhaps we didn't include one in the presentation. But definitely it was like a mixture of all of our resources that we mentioned earlier, right? Like what we found from the competition, what we have from, our academy, sorry, from our knowledge base and all of that, and who we had in mind in terms of an ideal customer and things like that. So it was, a combination of all of that. Unfortunately, I don't have it at the top of my head right now. Sorry for that. Um, Perhaps feel free to email our team. Maybe we can find one and send it to you at support@learnworlds.com. I see Christina is also answering to you, so hopefully she remembers one. uh, all right. Let me see over here. There's any other thing worth mentioning in terms of questions. Okay, so someone asked, can you teach the tone and voice of your company when you use AI prompts to create the script? So this is a great question, and yes, absolutely you can. So one of the things and approaches that we had was that we also fed previous videos or previous copies or previous articles, and then it analyzed the tone of voice, and then we decided whether we wanted to keep that or, use a different tone of voice. So yes, this is something that you can absolutely do to train your GPT, to train the AI tool that we use. And it is definitely recommended, right? Because you want to have your branding more cohesive and the way, how you spread your message. So yes, definitely do that. And we did do it at some point as well. I'm not sure whether it was included in the presentation. I think so. We did mention tones. So yeah, definitely. Mhm. Okay, let me see this question over here. Any thoughts about using an AI agent face to present the material? I'm trying to get videos done without the human in the video, but showing a human like presenting. Okay, yes, Jeffrey asked us, and I know Christina answered, but for anyone that perhaps thought this as well, this was actually quite a funny story. We did try this. That was again in the process in the beginning. Like I told you, it's a trial and error process. We try different tools. So yes, we did try doing this with an avatar instead of, just having a narration and only showing the screen. And the result is it came out funny. So the process was that I had to, well, if let's say we wanted an avatar of Elisa or whoever, right? I had to record a short video of myself, speaking clearly and so on. And then it generated the avatar based off of that. The result at that point, perhaps it was a tool that we used, but it wasn't good enough. Like the voice didn't sound like me at all. The image was even worse. So it didn't work out for us at the time. But I have seen such videos come up and people using that. So yeah, definitely since then, AI has progressed and evolved. So yes, that is definitely an option. We may revisit that in the future as we're still searching for tools, but as for now, we're not using it yet, but yeah, definitely that is an approach. Uh, right, I think that's good. We are also right on time. So let me close my Q&A over here. So guys, if there's any other questions that, Christina or I didn't have the time to go through, feel free to either rewatch the recording once we send it or just get in touch with us over at support@learnworlds.com and our team will be more than happy to help you out in any questions you have regarding this webinar or even the platform itself. So thanks a lot for joining in today. Thank you, Ksenia, Christina.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, everyone.
together. And see you next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.